Main event of the evening.
These days are
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today we are discussing Georgia Rule, a movie that I think we have to put a trigger warning on for discussions of child sexual abuse.
I think that would be a wise decision. So, Peter, tell us what happens in Georgia Rule.
On the highway from San Francisco into Idaho, mother and daughter Lily and Rachel Wilcox get into a fight just outside the state line.
You don't know where you are.
Yes, I do. I'm in hell.
And Rachel resolves to walk the rest of the way despite her mother's protestations. She falls asleep under the Welcome to Idaho sign and is found by young pickup truck driver Harlan Wilson.
Who are you?
Hey, I didn't mean nothing.
An older man named Simon interrupts, and Rachel happily hitches a ride with him to the small town of Hull. She spends the entire drive flirting with him, and he spends it ignoring her.
I don't like to talk.
Perfect. I don't like to listen.
Lily also arrives in Hull, at the home of her mother Georgia. Georgia is playing cards with neighbor boys Sam and Ethan Richards, and is confused that Rachel isn't also there. Things are frosty between them, though Lily claims to not have had a drink in years, and she brought her a gift, a crystal bowl that Georgia has no room for.
It's a glass bedpan?
Crystal bowl.
Meanwhile, Rachel and Simon have arrived in town, and he kicks her out of his car. She arrives at George's after sunset and long after Lily has left. Rachel explains she got into trouble a few too many times after graduating high school, and her mother and stepfather Arnold have sent her here until she starts college. She challenges her grandmother to jerk her around, and Georgia tells her to go f*** herself. The next morning, Georgia finds Rachel sleeping with an old stuffed animal that Georgia had gotten for her after her grandfather's funeral.
You named it Grandpa.
I was 4. Couldn't you have helped me pick a name that made some sense?
At the breakfast table, Georgia warns Rachel against taking the Lord's name in vain, and lays out a few more rules. She also reveals she got Rachel a job. Rachel says Georgia can't tell her what to do, but obeys when Georgia tells her to wash her dishes. On Monday, Rachel goes to work at the veterinary practice of Dr. Ward. On the way, she runs into Harlan again and flirts with him.
How old are you anyway?
Old enough.
At the practice, she learns Dr. Ward sometimes treats people in addition to animals, and also that he's Simon.
Well, you know my name is Simon, and I like to do drawings.
Back at George's, Rachel accidentally gets into a fight with Sam, and he gets an erection. Rachel takes the Lord's name in vain in shock, and Georgia tries to get her to wash her mouth out with soap, so Rachel storms off. When she comes back around dinner time, Sam and Ethan's mother is also there. She joins them with a bar of soap in her mouth, and Georgia immediately forgives her.
What now, Grandma?
You can take it out. Grab a chair.
Then Rachel asks if Simon is gay, and learns from the boy's mother, who is also Simon's sister, that Simon was married, and he recently lost his wife and son in a car accident. At the town 4th of July barbecue, Rachel meets up with Simon, who mentions that Harlan will soon be leaving for Mormon missionary work and warns Rachel against pursuing him, more for Harlan's sake than hers. When he says Rachel doesn't have a clue about surviving, Rachel blows up at him, blurting out that her stepfather started raping her when she was 12, and Simon doesn't have to be so sad about his family dying.
You've got a dead wife and a dead baby, and we're all so proud you're still even here.
Rachel goes on a rowboat with Harlan, who talks about his serious girlfriend June. Rachel goads him into touching her, then she goes down on him. Rachel visits Simon that night to not apologize, and claim that what she said about her stepfather was a lie, which is a problem because Simon took it seriously and told Georgia. Rachel storms off. Georgia is waiting for her at home, and asks her if Arnold ever molested her. Rachel claims that if he did, he would be dead. While Lily and Arnold are having sex in San Francisco, Georgia interrupts them with a phone call. While Arnold gets dressed, he comes back to find a horrified Lily.
So, what was all the commotion about? What?
That morning, Harlan joins Georgia and Rachel for breakfast. He tells Rachel he has to break up with June and marry her, the only way God will forgive him. Rachel protests that she only gave him a blowjob in front of Georgia.
Oh, Harlan, I gave you a blowjob. It wasn't even a date.
Still, she joins him on his trip to June's college. Lily drives back to Hull. She tells Georgia that Rachel has to be lying like she always does, especially since Arnold denied it, and it turns out that she lied about applying to Vassar.
There go my young girl dreams of Vassar.
Harlan tells June what happened. Sort of. At first he only says he and Rachel kissed, but then he finally confesses about the oral sex, causing June to run off.
But we didn't kiss! June! Juniper!
She ultimately forces Harlan to promise to never talk to or be near Rachel, especially since she'll be having everyone she knows watching. Back at George's, Rachel is greeted by Lily, who wants the truth, or what she thinks is the truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Rachel sarcastically says that Arnold never touched her. Lily spends the night curled up in her car's back seat. The next morning, Lily asks Rachel when it started and when it stopped. Rachel says 12 and 14, because one of her friends threatened to kill him. The Mustang he gave her was a bribe to let him start again, which is why she crashed it. At the practice, Rachel manages to get a problem patient to finally start paying his bills.
I haven't got a nickel out of him in 4 years, and you get $25 in 2 minutes.
After work, Simon admits to Rachel he was in love with her mother, but Lily ultimately chose Rachel's father. Back at George's house, Lily is contemplating knives with which to stab Arnold and lamenting her prenup, and that Arnold's proficiency as a defense attorney means he'd get away with everything in court. She ends up falling off the wagon.
There was a time you'd have dragged me by my hair out of here for drinking. I'm too old. So's your hair.
And drunkenly yells at her mother for not being there when she needed her and had a child to raise. Rachel, who has come home, asks her mother why she needs to hurt Georgia. Lily's response is, because you slept with my husband. She then stumbles over a table and injures her mouth. Georgia and Rachel help Lily upstairs. On her lunch break, Rachel is very literally slut-shamed by June's friends. As in, they drive past her in a car and yell, "Slut."
Slut!
Lily stumbles out of the house hungover, intending to buy more booze. Georgia tries to stop her, accidentally causing her to lose her shirt and bra. Lily admits she called Arnold last night to ask for a divorce, and Georgia says she'll buy the booze. Rachel spends the night at Simon's, watching Jeopardy with him, and asks to hold him like a father.
Can I ask you another favor? Relax.
Simon quickly excuses himself. Georgia finds Lily in her room, having given herself a DIY haircut, and the two talk about Georgia's rules and how those were her way of expressing that she cared. Not that Lily could recognize that, and Georgia's own not great relationship with her parents. The next day, Lily visits Simon at his work.
You look great with short hair.
Rachel got the day off, and she's spending it fishing with Harlan while June's friends stalk them. Lily asks Simon for antabuse, which he promises to help get, and they kiss before Lily excuses herself. Meanwhile, Rachel has had enough of June's friends, and she chases them down in Harlan's truck to tell them off and threaten to have sex with their boyfriends. Arnold arrives in Hull to talk to Lily.
Oh, Miss Lily! Oh, my lovely baby! Oh, my pussycat!
He accuses Rachel of lying, and Georgia chases him off the property with a baseball bat after he says, "God damn it." Against her better judgment, Lily joins Arnold at a diner, where he claims that Rachel is just doing all of this to get back at him for wanting her to go to rehab.
I'll do anything to show you how much I love you.
Rachel spends the night at Simon's. Lily visits her to say she doesn't know who to believe. Both Arnold and Rachel have her convinced. Rachel breaks and claims that she only said Arnold molested her to make a point and see if her mother would believe her. Lily leaves in shock. Lily reunites with Arnold, but can't get Rachel to come back to San Francisco with them. Rachel does eventually go to visit Arnold in his motel room, where he promises her his Ferrari for telling the truth.
I just want you to write her a letter saying that you're sorry about what you did to me.
That's it, huh?
And a check for $10 million.
She blackmails him into keeping her mother happy and giving her a check for $10 million by telling him about a videotape made by her friend Tommy, the one who threatened Arnold with a gun. In that videotape, Rachel is 14, so Arnold has a vested interest in nobody ever seeing it. That night, Rachel climbs into bed with Simon, who reiterates that he will never sleep with her, blaming Arnold for trying to take away all the things that would have let Rachel love him without sex. She thanks him for saying no. Lily and Arnold begin driving back to San Francisco, and Rachel comes back to Georgia's after they leave. Georgia says that she knows Rachel lied to spare her mother's feelings, and that they're going to tell her the truth now and press criminal charges. On the drive, Lily learns Arnold gave Rachel his Ferrari, and it finally sinks in that Rachel was telling the truth about everything. She makes him pull over and begins walking back to Hull.
Talk to me. Will you please turn around? Turn around!
When Arnold claims that Rachel seduced him, Lily attacks him and tells him he's going to jail. Rachel, Lily, Simon, and Harlan find her on the side of the road. Rachel and Lily embrace and reconcile, with Rachel finally telling her mother she loves her. Also, Harlan tells Georgia he's in love with Rachel and is going to marry her when he gets back from his mission.
Thank you, Peter. That was Georgia Rule. It was released on Friday, May 11th, 2007. The other films released that day include 28 Weeks Later, Delta Farce, and The X. The biggest movies in theaters at that time were Shrek the Third, Spider-Man 3, and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Peter, do any of those movies appeal to you at all?
My friend Ben keeps telling me that I need to watch the 28 insert thing here later series, so that's what I'm going to go with. Everything else sounds a bit dire, let's say.
All of those movies were pretty skippable.
Why don't you try simply reading a book?
Georgia Rule earned $25 million on a $20 million budget, not a disaster. It was directed by Garry Marshall. This was Gary's first film for Universal. Garry supposedly had the rights to this script for 10 years, but no studio wanted to do it.
10 years we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting.
The only way he got to make Georgia Rule was by having the lowest budget and shortest filming schedule of any of his movies. It was written by Mark Andrus, a screenwriter from Los Angeles who's been active in the film industry since the early 90s. By far, his best-known movie is the Oscar-winning As Good as It Gets.
All I'm saying is, what if this is as good as it gets?
There it is! There it is!
Mark's other movies include
And So It Goes, Life as a House, Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood, Late for Dinner, and Otherhood.
As for the music in this movie, the composer, yet again, was John Debney. Peter, what did you think of the score for Georgia Rule?
The score in Georgia Rule made no impact on me. Maybe that's for the best.
I think John Debney's greatest talent as a composer is knowing when to hold back.
He knew what not to do is what he did do.
When Harlan's pickup truck pulls up next to Rachel, we hear Beautiful Disaster by John McLaughlin. This is the first example in the movie of the music telling us exactly what we're supposed to think.
It's very on the nose.
When Rachel shows up at George's house, we hear Beyond the Horizon by Bob Dylan from his 2006 album, Modern Times. And I appreciated this little musical moment.
I didn't expect to hear a late period Bob Dylan song in this movie, so that was nice.
As Rachel explores the town, there's a musical montage set to A Lovely Day by Donovan Frankenreiter, whom I had never heard of, but what a great name.
That is a great name.
At the college campus, June's choir performs a couple of Mormon hymns. First is Count Your Blessings.
Count your many blessings, see what God has done.
Which was written by Johnson Oatman Jr. and dates back to 1897. The next is The Spirit of God Like a Fire is Burning. It goes back to 1836 and was written by W. W. Phelps, who is one of the most prolific composers of the LDS movement. Do you think Garry Marshall had a better grasp of Mormonism in this film than he had of Lutheranism in Raising Helen?
Maybe? I don't know enough about Mormonism to say as much. All we really get about Mormonism is that Harlan is going to be a missionary and he's going to have to cut off all of his hair and he can't have sex until marriage, and he feels bad about cheating on his girlfriend with Rachel. I guess also Mormon teenage girls like to drive around in cars and yell slut at people.
I personally did not like the way that June and her friends were depicted in the film.
It meshes weirdly with the rest of the movie's plots about child sexual abuse and Rachel reconnecting with her grandmother. All things considered, it really does play weirdly, and I didn't really like the resolution, and I really hated the ending with Harlan saying that he wants to marry Rachel when he gets back. That's the last line of the movie. That's not what the movie is about or should have been about.
At least for this movie, they did find a couple of genuine Mormon hymns, which I had never heard. When Georgia turns on the radio in her kitchen, we hear Beethoven's Sonata No. 8. That was nice. When Rachel and Harlan return home, we hear The Fatalist by Robbers on High Street. When Rachel chases the Mormon girls with her truck, we hear Face Down by the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Face down, ass up.
When Arnold arrives at George's house, we hear How Come by Ray LaMontagne. As Rachel broods in the motel parking lot, we hear I Don't Think I'm Ever Gonna Figure It Out by Elliott Smith. When Rachel walks back to the motel, we hear Broken Sky by Rod Laufer. And over the end credits, we hear Horse in the Sky by Chris and Thomas plus Extraordinary by Mandy Moore. So we get a little bit of Mandy Moore from The Princess Diaries 1 in this movie.
Yeah.
As for our main cast, we have to start with Jane Fonda as Georgia.
Save the lives for something more important than cancer.
Jane is an actress from New York who's been working in film and television since the early 1960s. She is quite simply one of the most loved and most hated women of her generation. The daughter of legendary actor Henry Fonda, she became a major screen star due to her roles in such wildly diverse films as Barbarella, Coming Home, 9 to 5, and Klute, for which she won an Oscar. In more recent years, she's been seen in the Netflix series Grace and Frankie with Lily Tomlin. But Jane's movies and television shows have only been part of the story.
Her outspoken opposition to the Vietnam War made her the source of tremendous and still ongoing controversy.
Her other political causes include environmentalism and feminism. Jane raised eyebrows with her marriages to powerful men like director Roger Vadim and media mogul Ted Turner. In the 1980s, she became a leading fitness guru and helped kickstart the aerobics craze. Her life and career have continued to evolve over the decades, and Jane remains active and opinionated into the 2020s.
Peter, what did you think of Jane Fonda as Georgia?
casting Jane Fonda as a tough love grandma should have been a slam dunk, and it kind of is. I think she is better than this movie ultimately ends up deserving, in large part because, as I have said earlier, I feel like this movie has too much stuff in it, even with its 2-hour runtime, and she ends up feeling kind of sidelined by a lot of the other stuff. I will say that I generally liked her interactions with Lily. Once they reach this point where Lily has fallen off the wagon and she's struggling to accept this horrible thing that she's learned has been going on under her nose for years, and part of her still kind of blames Rachel, even though none of this is Rachel's fault, and Georgia has to be the one to pick up the pieces and try and keep her functional. I do feel like this movie is just very weirdly organized, and it is left up to Jane Fonda to make this character more lively than she would be otherwise. She does still come across as a fun person to hang out with. She plays cards with her neighbor boys. She's ultimately pretty cool once you get past all the rules, so there is that.
I liked Jane Fonda's performance as Georgia, but I found that in this movie, it's very difficult to judge these as acting performances because I kept judging them as human beings and how they were relating to each other and what they should be saying or what they should be doing in this movie. So it was almost difficult for me to think of them as actors giving performances because I wanted to comment on their behavior as if they were real people almost. I had a lot of conflicting feelings about Georgia and her behavior in this movie. The commandment that she stresses the most is thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain, which I think is the dumbest and least helpful of the commandments.
I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not have strange gods before me. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Thou shalt keep holy the Sabbath. Right off the bat, the first three, pure bull.
And she makes it the focus of her life. And the gimmick of her saying Georgia rule wore out with me over the course of the film. She says it about 1,000 times, it feels like.
Yeah, I know. I got that. You said that 400 times.
I'm the boss.
Yeah, I got it.
And other characters say it too, and they're really working that title into the movie as often as they can. So I had conflicting feelings about Georgia as a character, but I like Jane Fonda's performance. We also have Lindsay Lohan as Rachel.
So I brought 7 novels. I read them slowly. That should kill 2 of the 10 weeks that I'm here.
Lindsay is an actress and pop singer from New York who's one of the most controversial celebrities of her generation. She got her start as a child star in the late 1990s and early 2000s with pivotal roles in The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and of course Mean Girls. But she got a lot of attention for her off-screen life as well. Specifically, her legal troubles and struggles with addiction made her a fixture of the tabloids for years. Happily, she survived those turbulent years and has reinvented herself as a clean and sober actress and businesswoman. This movie, Georgia Rule, was made at the height of her hard partying days, and Lindsay's behavior caused some delays in filming and some sharp words from Jane Fonda.
Lindsay Lohan, one piece of advice. Come live with me for a while and get a sense of what normal is supposed to be like.
What did you think of Lindsay Lohan as Rachel?
Man, this is an uncomfortable role to watch her in, considering everything. Watching Lindsay Lohan play the role of a young girl who was forced to grow up too fast because of sexualization at the hands of a creepy older man, it's very on the nose and it's very uncomfortable, and I can't say it's fun. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad performance, but it's uncomfortable.
Several of the reviews of this movie that came out when it was released essentially said that this was Lindsay Lohan as herself, or this is as close to the real Lindsay Lohan as we can get. I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know if this is method acting on her part, but all I can say is that I was not bored by this performance. It's certainly a compelling performance. Again, this is very difficult to judge as a bit of acting. We also have Felicity Huffman as Lily.
I hate that you bought me so many.
Felicity Huffman is a very prolific TV, film, and stage actress from Bedford, New York. She broke through with an Emmy-winning role on Desperate Housewives and was Oscar-nominated for her role in the movie Transamerica. Unfortunately, in 2019, she was caught up in a major college admissions scandal and even briefly served prison time, but she emerged from that scandal and has kept working. She remains married to actor William H. Macy. Peter, what did you think of Felicity Huffman as Lily?
Lily is probably the most difficult role to play because of the 3 main characters, she is probably the one who has the most potential to be genuinely unlikable. She's in this position where she has to process learning this horrible thing that has been taking place under her nose for years. and she reacts to it in not the best way. She alternates between believing Rachel and not believing Rachel. She falls off the wagon. She says something really horrible and awful to Rachel about it. I guess it's to this movie's credit that it tries to at least acknowledge that there isn't really a right way to react to this. I think that when it comes to something like this, we all kind of have this idea of how we would react, but that isn't necessarily how we would react. So I would say that Huffman handles it about as well as she can, and I think she does more or less make Lily a believable character, so there is that.
When Lily comes back to Idaho, do you think on some level she knows Rachel is telling the truth? Is she in denial? Does she really think Rachel is lying? What do you think is really happening there?
I'm going to say it's a lot of denial, a lot of wanting the case to be Rachel is lying, but also knowing on some level that this is not something that she would lie about.
I think she's probably in denial when she goes back to Idaho. As for Felicity Huffman's performance, I'm going to sound like a broken record. This is difficult to judge as a bit of acting because I was so busy thinking about these characters and the things that they say and do and how they interact with each other. And as you point out, Lily says something truly awful and hateful to Rachel in an emotionally charged moment. And it's a really ugly moment, but maybe it's a true human moment. The fact that Lily doesn't emerge from this movie as a monster is perhaps a tribute to Felicity Huffman's performance. This is a very, very difficult role to play. We should also mention our child actors, Dylan McLaughlin as Sam and Zachary Gordon as Ethan. Both are native Californians. Sam worked in TV and film for just a few years in the 2000s. Besides this movie, his credits include iCarly, ER, and the movies Kicking and Screaming and Seeing Other People. Zachary Gordon, on the other hand, was at the beginning of a career in TV, film, and video games that continues to this day. His credits include such TV shows as How I Met Your Mother, Family Guy, Desperate Housewives, and The Good Doctor, plus such films as The Incredible Burt Wonderstone and National Treasure Book of Secrets, plus the Diary of a Wimpy Kid franchise. Peter, what did you think about the contributions that Sam and Ethan made to this story?
I was deeply uncomfortable by the scene with the lawnmower where Rachel and Sam get into the physical altercation and Sam gets an erection. In a movie with this subject matter and this tone, it plays weirdly. I really didn't like that. I will add that I was very surprised that the kid from Diary of a Wimpy Kid was in this. That was weirdly funny.
Again, as you point out, some of the stuff with Sam is rather uncomfortable. I don't know if the movie necessarily needed to cross that line, but they decided that they did. We also have Dermot Mulroney as Simon.
Would you put your legs back in my car?
Dermot is a very busy TV and film actor from Alexandria, Virginia, who first gained fame in the 1980s with roles in teen films like Career Opportunities and Young Guns. Arguably, his most famous role is in My Best Friend's Wedding. Personally, I remember him best as Jack Nicholson's dim-witted son-in-law in About Schmidt. You may also know him from the TV shows Shameless and New Girl. More recently, you could have seen him in the Western Long Shadows. He famously has a good sense of humor about being confused with actor Dylan McDermott.
Who am I? Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney?
Peter, what did you think of Dermot Mulroney as Simon?
He's like if a chunk of granite came to life, kind of, and I don't necessarily mean that as an insult. I think that it's a very sturdy performance. I would say that his gradually developing paternal feelings for Rachel was nice, especially since she acknowledges that that is something that she needed, and I did like the line where he said that he hated that Arnold left her in a position where she has to express that need with sex. That being said, I felt like his romantic subplot with Lily was underbaked, and basically all of the very comedic stuff that takes place at his veterinary practice was very tonally weird. Also, I feel like this movie doesn't really dwell on the dystopian aspects of this small town relying on a veterinarian for its human healthcare.
Oh, I'll take a vet over an MD any day. They gotta be able to cure a lizard, a chicken, a pig, a frog, all on the same day.
Does it not have a hospital?
Apparently not. Dermot Mulroney got some harsh reviews when this movie came out because his performance is so stoic that people said he was wooden or he was checked out. I think Dermot is trying to numb himself emotionally because of having gone through this traumatic experience. That's not always the most fun kind of part to play. As for those tonal shifts, I have a theory about all of that, which we will get to.
Oh boy.
But we also need to talk about Cary Elwes as Arnold.
You want to take this to trial? You go right ahead. I welcome it.
Carey is an accomplished film and television actor from London who captured the hearts of filmgoers everywhere with his role as Wesley in The Princess Bride in 1987. You could have also seen Carey in such films as Robin Hood Men in Tights, Glory, Twister, and Saw. Despite all the projects he's been in, Carey will forever remain associated with The Princess Bride and wrote a popular memoir about his experience making that film in 2014. Peter, what did you think of Carey Elwes as Arnold in this movie?
I think it's to Elwes's credit that despite the fact that he started out as this incredibly dashing figure, very much associated with these romantic lead type roles, he is still willing to step out of type and play roles that are very different from that. And I think this is a very good example of that. I'd say he probably has an easier role to play than a lot of the cast because Arnold is just straightforwardly an awful person. With Elwes's performance, you get the sense that it's not that he doesn't know he's not awful, it's just that he knows that he has to pretend to be a not awful person in order to get what he wants, which is a semi-normal life. Yeah, he does a very good job at playing an evil guy who is pretending to be normal, and who is very good at lying, because that is his job.
To paraphrase Roger Ebert, this is the kind of role that actors fight over to avoid playing. Somebody has to play Arnold, the abusive stepfather, in this movie. I think Carey brings a lot of his magnetism to this role. Those same qualities that made him effective as Wesley in The Princess Bride are what allow him to lie to and deceive his wife in this movie. So it's a very dark part, but I think it's well played for what it is. We also have Garrett Hedlund as Harlan.
Miss Randall, I think you should know that I'm in love with your granddaughter.
And when I grow up, I'm going to marry her.
Garrett is an actor from Minnesota who's been working in film and television since the early 2000s. His resume includes Troy, Friday Night Lights, Inside Llewyn Davis, Tron Legacy, and Pan. More recently, you could have seen him in the series Tulsa King. Peter, what did you think of Carey Hedlund as Harlan?
I have nothing against him as an actor. I think he's okay in this role, but also I don't think this character should be in this movie at all. At the very least, he should not have been as integral to the movie as he was. This should have been a drama about the relationship between the family members, and he just kind of distracts things.
This romantic subplot does feel tacked on and not necessary. Do you think both Simon and Harlan should be gone from this movie?
I think that Simon does fulfill a role, which is that it's his relationship with Rachel is kind of about her coming to terms with the fact that she can only see her relationships with men in sexual terms because of Arnold's abuse of her, and them forging this surrogate father-daughter relationship that is not that. So Simon, I think, is understandable. Harlan, considerably less so.
Harlan might be in this movie so that it could be marketed as a romantic comedy in some way. I've heard this film described as a comedy. I would not necessarily describe it that way, but
it certainly has things that could be comedic.
I suppose. It depends on your sense of humor, I guess. We have some notable supporting cast members in Georgia Rule. Hector Elizondo is Izzy and has a brand new ethnicity, Basque.
He mentions that he's Basque like 3 times in the span of 5 minutes.
It is pretty much the extent of his character.
He would also play a Basque in the classic TV sitcom Last Man Standing.
Laurie Metcalf appears as Paula. This is her 3rd Garry Marshall movie. Rance Howard, Ron's dad, is the man who's been bitten by a dog. And Paul Williams is the freeloading Mr. Wilson. Of those, did any of those performances stand out to you?
Seeing Paul Williams holding an adorable dachshund made me so happy. It made me the happiest of anything in this movie. I was grasping at straws.
That is $25, sir.
Oh, no, Doc usually just sends me a bill now and then.
That was also one of my favorite moments in the whole movie, so I was glad it was there. Did Rance Howard get bitten on the ass by the dog? Is that the joke?
Yeah, yes, he did. That's the joke.
And does he have his pants down for the entire scene?
I believe he does, yes.
No, thank you, movie. You don't have to do that. As for the cultural and historical references in this movie, that sign that says, "Welcome to Idaho, land of the famous potato," is fake. This scene was filmed in California, as was the entire movie. Later, we see a sign that says Hull 13 miles, Wallace 58 miles. That's fake, too. Wallace is real, but not Hull. Rachel says to Harlan, "Are you one of those backcountry sodomy boys?" She's referring to the 1972 film Deliverance. In another nod to 1970s cinema, Harlan's boat is called the Orca, like the boat in Jaws from 1975.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
The house where most of the movie takes place is actually in the community of Santa Paula, California, which advertises itself as the citrus capital of the world. Were you at all charmed by Hull, Idaho?
It's not aggressively cute the way that movie small towns can be, but it didn't really seem like a fun place to hang out. The 4th of July barbecue looked fun, but outside of that, not really. And also, again, they have to go to the veterinarian for health healthcare. That's horrifying. I don't want a vacation in a place where I can't access healthcare if I need it.
I think this movie is almost trying to be a quaint small town, redeems a jaded outsider kind of movie a little bit. How would you say the small town in this movie compares to the one in Runaway Bride just a few movies ago?
Runaway Bride looked way better than this one. This one's cinematography is kind of flat in the way that I feel like a lot of Audie's movies are. Runaway Bride looked cozy and warm and quaint, and this, no.
Izzy refers to California as the land of fruits and nuts.
California, the land of fruits and nuts.
This is a derogatory term for California that goes back to at least 1932. Fern and Rachel discuss poet Ezra Pound and quote his poem, The Ballad of the Goodly Fair, published in 1909. It's about the crucifixion.
The hounds of the crimson sky gave tongue, but never a cry gave he.
On her drive to Idaho, Lily listens to a motivational tape by John Gordon.
Meditation is the pathway to your silent energy.
He's a real-life author and motivational speaker whose subjects include leadership, sales, and teamwork. John appeared on the same episode of Good Morning Philadelphia with Garry Marshall and gave Garry a copy of his CD, Silent Energy. Garry put it into his next movie, and so that's how that scene came about.
Sweet.
Lily says that Rachel was doing crank K and X.
She was smoking crank in the 9th grade. K and X.
Crank is what we used to call meth. K is ketamine, and X is ecstasy, or what we now call MDMA. So this movie has a little crash course in outdated drug slang of the early 2000s. Did you appreciate that?
I learned something, so yeah, sure.
It reminded me of that first Matt Foley sketch on Saturday Night Live where Phil Hartman is talking to his kids and he says,
crack, ice, boom, pow.
And the kids just think he's so corny. Simon scoffs at the idea of pig stress.
He gets all jumpy, starts running around and squealing, and he disrupts the other pigs. You think it's stress?
Pig stress?
Pigs are actually highly intelligent animals capable of experiencing a wide range of emotions, including stress and grief. If Simon is a veterinarian, he should know that.
Not only is the town relying on a vet for healthcare, he's not even a very good vet.
Veterinarian's Hospital, the continuing story of a quack who's gone to the dogs.
Simon watches an episode of Jeopardy and correctly answers a question, or questions an answer, about the Allosaurus being the best-known carnivore of the late Jurassic period and having a 3-foot-long skull. If you listen closely, you can hear a mention of Allen Ginsberg's Howl. Rachel correctly identifies The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. She also knows that the name Lopez comes from the Latin for wolf. If you listen very closely to the Jeopardy scene, you can hear one woman chime in and she says, "What is the Loch Ness Monster?" And Alex says, "That is incorrect." And then somebody else rings in and says, "What is an elephant?" That is correct. I have to know, what was the clue that prompted the Loch Ness Monster, but was correctly answered by elephant?
I guess we'll never know.
Lily asks Simon for antabuse. This drug is still used in the treatment of alcohol abuse, but is no longer available under that brand name. It is now also considered a second-line drug, and it works the way that Simon describes, by making you physically ill when you drink alcohol. And Lily would need a doctor to get it, since it's a prescription drug. So, Peter, this is a weird question, but were there any outstanding Garry Marshall fashions in Georgia Rule?
Rachel basically exclusively wears white in this movie. Lots of really white dresses that I don't know if they really fit her character. I guess they're there to convey that despite everything, she is pure of heart, something.
Something complete.
When she goes to talk to Arnold, she's wearing red instead. Either the costume department didn't really think that through, or they were conveying it anyway. I was just very uncomfortable because of that.
Personally, my favorite outfit in the movie was the ensemble that Paul Williams was wearing. I thought he looked quite dapper. So, Peter, I will ask that age-old timeless question. Was this movie any good?
This was, I think, one of the most unpleasant viewing experiences I have had for this podcast. I would probably call it my second least favorite Garry Marshall film that we've watched so far. Tonally, this movie is all over the place. It is not really giving this subject matter the weight it deserves. This movie is full of all these borderline sitcom jokes, like basically everything at the vet practice, the running gag with the soap, and the "thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain" thing. I think that everyone in this movie is doing the best they can, but it's not enough. No.
Peter, I am glad that we have a couple of weeks to think about these movies because it took me a while to figure out what Georgia Rule is. But then I had a revelation, and it was Jane Fonda's character that proved the key. This is a Tyler Perry movie for white people.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
I'm the owner of this house.
Wrong answer. My granddaughter Helen is the owner of this house. You the hoe. You ain't got no power or no deed.
Georgia is white Medea.
Yeah.
And the fact that the villain of the movie turns out to be a rich lawyer in a fancy car and the grandma attacks him with a baseball bat, that is straight out of the Medea movies. That's what this is. It's like if Medea were a Karen. Diary of a Mad Black Woman had come out in 2005. This is 2007. That might have been what prompted Universal to want to make this movie after all these years. The Tyler Perry movies are famous for their wild tonal shifts.
The day I found out what the actual plot of Medea Goes to Jail was a day that I lost some little piece of innocence. The plot of Medea Goes to Jail is that this woman became a sex worker because she was gang raped by a bunch of the love interest's friends, and she was calling out for him, and he didn't know. And why? What is that?
A lot of critics were appalled by Tyler Perry's work, but it obviously has found an audience. This movie, Georgia Rule, did not really find much of an audience. Maybe Garry Marshall's viewers were not really geared up for a film like this. I certainly wasn't. This was another film like The Other Sister where I had to keep stopping the movie and then walking away and then watching another 10 minutes of it. This movie was marketed very deceptively. You think, oh, this is a movie about a wild child who goes to her grandma's house in Idaho and grandma's going to straighten her out over the course of the summer.
It's not that.
No way. I only went into this movie knowing the title, and so what this movie is really about completely caught me off guard. And the fact that it's Wesley from The Princess Bride made it more difficult for me to sit through. I don't know who I would recommend this movie to.
I guess I would recommend it to Lindsay Lohan completionists. If you are a Lindsay Lohan superfan who is trying to understand the arc of her career, I guess you kind of have to watch this movie.
This was made at a very dramatic time in her life, and it captures that moment for good or ill. So it's interesting from that perspective, but it is a tough film to sit through for me. I guess I'm not sorry that I watched it because it gave me a lot to think about, but I don't see this as being a film that will eventually find a mass audience. Garry obviously believed in this project. He really pursued it and he got it made.
Just like The Other Sister.
Yep.
For better or for worse.
Yep.
Worse.
So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the wonderful things that we are doing?
Listeners can follow us at thesedaysareours.libsyn.com.
And they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysareuspodcast@gmail.com. So, Peter, what do we have on the docket next time we get together?
After this, I think we need a pickup. I think we need some holiday cheer.
We need a little Christmas right this very minute.
And it turns out that all the way back in 1979, Henry Winkler starred in an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, set in 1930s New England. It's called An American Christmas Carol, and it is not to be confused with An American Carol. That is a different, worse thing. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about next time, and it's going to be better than this.
It would have to be. I am really looking forward to it. So see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Thou shalt not take my name in vain. Thou shalt not forget the Saturday. Thou shalt not take my name in vain. Thou shalt not forget the Saturday. The Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not hate thy ma and pa. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not hate thy ma and pa. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Crack, ice, boom, pow.
Pig stress?